Doctor Who Christmas specials are back with The Church on Ruby Road. This is the first Christmas special in Doctor Who since Peter Capaldi's final episode, Twice Upon a Time, and boy oh boy, is it a doozy. So let's, stop at the pleasantries and get into it. So I was kind of wondering, should I review all the upcoming Doctor Who episodes going forward? Should I save them all for when I talk about them anyway with Doctor Who Revisited? I'm not sure, but considering I have a very long time till I can get through all of Doctor Who for Doctor Who Revisited, might as well just talk about it anyways and get to revisiting it when I get to it. But anyways, so The Church on Ruby Road. Ncuti Gatwa's first official episode as the Doctor. Some might even argue his Doctor Who debut. Of course, he did kind of already made his debut in The Giggle, and he did kind of have a few Doctor moments in it. But again, it wasn't a full episode with him as the Doctor. This is. So I feel like this needs to be taken into account. I don't know. This new Russell T Davies era is introducing so many new stuff and so many unexplored territories in Doctor Who that, you know what? I'm just happy to be along for the ride. Now, first impressions. What do I think about it? It's fine. Okay, it's fine. It's good. It didn't blow me away or anything. It's not one of the best Doctor Who specials of all time. It's not even one of the top 10, top 20, top 30 episodes of Doctor Who of all time. It's fine. I mean, even as a Doctor debut, it's just okay. It's just all right. It's just one of those episodes where you're gonna have to let the years go by and see how it stacks up against some of the other Doctor debuts, and more importantly, some of the other Doctor episodes with this specific Doctor. All in all, I think Ncuti Gatwa nailed the role of the Doctor in The Giggle. And I was sort of slowing down a little bit, trying to simmer down and try to really slip into this role more comfortably. And so far, I think he does manages to slip into this new role pretty easily. I mean, we see him dancing and having fun. We're seeing him doing some stuff that we normally wouldn't have associated with the Doctor pre-Ncuti Gatwa, and I think he's nailing it. I love the scene of him hanging on the ladder with Ruby. I love the dance club scene. Speaking of dances, I love the dance and song and dance moment with the Goblin King, which, it kind of came out of nowhere. I was like, okay, what are we doing? Is this really happening? Is this going to be a part of Doctor Who now? Really hope it does, because then that'll just make this whole moment necessary. That it wouldn't feel out of place, like it was a one-off that came out of nowhere and never really went anywhere. So I hope we get to see more of the Ncuti Gatwa song and dance routine, and maybe, hopefully, Ruby can join in on the fun as well. Now, talk about Ruby, because, again, this is technically not really the Doctor's debut. You've already seen what he can do in The Giggle. This is more or less the debut of Ruby Sunday. This is her kind of origin story in a way. And speaking of origin stories, I think it's a great way to open it up. Okay, it's not something completely new and unheard of for Doctor Who companions, but I think the way it was set up is really, really good. I like the mystery element of her just being a baby abandoned on the doorstep of a church on Christmas Eve, and trying to find who her mother is, who her parents are, I should say, with the Davina McCall show. It's nice to see Davina McCall there. And one of my jump out of my seat moments from that episode, spoiler alert, is when that Christmas tree falls on her, and I was like, you can't kill Davina McCall! What the hell? But thankfully, the Doctor sorted it, so happy ending, I guess. But moving back into this issue of Ruby Sunday and who her mother is. Now, granted, Ruby Sunday's mom has been a topic of conversation way before the episode even aired. Because, like, there have been these behind the scenes clip outs and, people just randomly with phone capturing some of the filming going on for some of the episodes from the upcoming season. And there have been the question of who is Ruby Sunday's mother. There's a moment that has been recorded. I probably shouldn't be even talking about it, but there is a moment that has come out somewhere. It's been floating around the internet. Her just yelling out to her mom and chasing after something. So the question of who her mother is has been floating around for months now. And there have been these leaked images of her and Gemma Redgrave as Kate Stewart, which brought up the conversation of, is she Kate Stewart's daughter? That probably would explain why Davina McCall couldn't find any evidence that she even had a mother at all. Could be a different explanation, but that is an explanation I think works. The only thing I think going against it is that in one of the earlier Kate Stewart episodes, I think it might have even been her debut on the show as the Gemma Redgrave version in The Power of Three, or maybe a different episode. I can't remember which one it was, but she does mention she has children. She was asked about them, and she was like, "Oh yeah, the children are safe. The boys are safe." I think she mentions having 2 boys. I could be wrong about this. I could be completely way off. She thinks she might have even mentioned it on the Unit Big Finish series. But yeah, even then, it's a very, very loose thread to kind of suggest that she's not Ruby Sunday's mother. If you catch my meaning. Like, it's a very flimsy evidence, and Doctor Who has gone back and forth on these things in the past. I mean, case in point, episode 1 of the new series, Rose mentions Mickey has a mom, and then the following season, she kind of mentions that he doesn't, that she died when he was really young. So yeah, Doctor Who has done that in the past, so no reason to assume it won't happen again. So for now, the thing that seems most likely to me is just to assume the Kate Stewart family connection, which will keep this all in the family. But, that's just my personal fan theory for the moment. And speaking of fan theories, there is another one coming up right at the end of this review. But in the meantime, let's just talk about all the meat and stuff in the episode itself. Mother or no mother, I actually really like how Ruby Sunday turned out. I mean, she doesn't have the best life, but it looks like she's having the best life that she could. She was adopted by a very loving and caring woman, and her mother. The house that she lives in looks really, really fun and really enjoyable. It seems like she had the best of time, despite not knowing her parents, which I think is really important for a Doctor Who companion because it shows strength of character. It's like one of the main defined things that really define some of the best Doctor Who companions, whether you like them or not. It's coming from a tragic background and overcoming hardships. Someone like Rose Tyler comes into play where, the whole story of her dad dying when she was very young, and she didn't really let that stop her too much. We don't even need to get into Jack's incredibly long and detailed backstory. Of course, Sarah Jane has one of the longest and most detailed backstories of all time. Me despising the character doesn't really change the fact that even Clara Oswald actually comes from a very hard place and learned to overcome those such hardships. And so, and then of course there's Vicky, Nyssa, Tegan. I mean, I can just sit here all day and talk about this point. So really, I think all these elements just are there to cement Ruby as a definitive Doctor Who companion and even I would say quintessential Doctor Who companion. It's like she's got all the ingredients there to make a really good companion. I just really hope the character is really going to pick up from now on. Not to say that she wasn't good. What I'm saying is I'm really interested and excited to see how this character develops. And speaking of which, she already has displayed some really good Doctor Who companion characteristics. I mean, going out of her way to save the baby, jumping on the ladder, and I love the comedic scene of her hanging from the ladder and the doctor just running across the rooftop. Is like, "What are you doing? Who sees a ladder and just jumps on it?" Whatever he says. That's some great comedic moments and a great way to introduce the companion to the doctor. And yes, I know they already kind of met at the bar earlier in the episode. Who cares? I'm talking about this as their first proper meeting. I love the intelligent gloves that the doctor has. I'm hoping it's going to become one of those gadgets that the doctor repeatedly uses when necessary, of course. And then just the goblin ship. The goblin ship looks amazing, both from the visual effects perspective and both from the imaginative design. First of all, I mean, we've always seen flying pirate ships. It's nothing new. Case in point, the Jolly Roger from the Peter Pan stories. But I don't know what it is. It just there's something about the design of the goblin ship that really draws your eye. From the way that the sails are designed and the wings and just how everything just wood built, and I just really love that mainly wood built look of the goblin ship and all the different ropes and everything, and it kind of delves into a realm of, so it's basically magic now. And of course, Doctor Who has always been kind of trudging the line between fantasy and pure sci-fi. It's sort of like how the MCU explains it. It's like, oh yeah, magic exists, it's just a different form of science. I think Doctor Who even did it before the MCU introduced that element, and you can kind of see that on display in this episode in the Goblin ship. And yeah, I love I love that moment of them just being tied up on the Goblin ship and trying to realize and figure out the situation. And again, it's just another one of those really good introduction between the Doctor and companion, and they're already working on building their chemistry. And I can really tell that not only does Ncuti Gatwa and Millie Gibson have good on-screen chemistry, I think this is gonna be a really good Doctor and companion pairing. So I'm really excited to see more episodes with these two characters together. And then, of course, there's the aforementioned Goblin song. Again, at first it kind of took me off guard, and I know that they already released the Goblin song on YouTube. I think it was the day that the giggle dropped or something like that. I didn't watch it. I didn't want anything to spoil my experience of seeing this thing in the episode for the first time. And I'm kind of glad I did, because it was such a WTF moment of like, what is happening now? Is this really a part of Doctor Who now? And you know what? I actually like it. It's, you know, it's one of those things that just really odd, that, you know, doesn't really fit, or that doesn't seem like it fits in Doctor Who, but then it does. So yeah, I feel like the Goblin song was really, really fun, and the way that the Doctor and Ruby responded to the Goblin song with a song of their own, and that's how they made their escape. Brilliant. Really hope you get to see more of these types of song and dance distractions. The Doctor, you know, the Doctor always uses their enemies' weapons and methods against them, and that's exactly what the Doctor did in this situation, and it works. Now, question though about the Goblin King. So, like, it's a giant, massive goblin monster, Jabba the Hutt-like monster, and he eats a tiny baby. Like, how does it situate his hunger? I mean, I guess, you know, the Doctor mentioning is like it feeds on coincidences and potential, and, you know, one has more untapped potential than a baby. But then again, what do the other goblins eat? So I think this is one of the major negatives in this episode. It's like they didn't properly set up the lore of these goblins properly all the way through. Wasn't really all the way thought out, and it kind of looks like they were just meant to be one-offs anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Just I kind of wish we had a little bit more stuff to go on with this species of Doctor Who villains, because they started out really interesting and then just uh, didn't quite go anywhere. We didn't much see them after they escaped with the baby, because they went back in time, and then even when the Doctor stopped them, we kind of don't actually see the goblins too much, because it's kind of stuff that's happening off screen in a way. Uh, but that being said, we get into another one of those things that happens in Doctor Who every once in a while. Of like, time is literally changing around the situation, the characters, and only the Doctor notices it because Time Lord, Timeless Child, take your pick. Well, one thing I kind of noticed I noticed right away when the Doctor was following the cracks, and again, well, I wonder if that's a reference to something, but when the Doctor was following the cracks and suddenly notices that something's off, the first thing that came to my mind was, where's Ruby? Why wasn't she with him? And of course, maybe it was just my keen eye, I noticed that all the pictures were gone from the fridge. It's like, oh, shoot, time changed. And the fact that Ruby's not there with them is probably the biggest hint to that. So I kind of feel like they dropped the ball a little bit by having the Doctor not notice it right away. I mean, you can kind of tell that there's something wrong when the viewer notices something before the Doctor does. So that's because the Doctor is always 10 steps ahead of the writer at some points. So I felt like that was a bit of a ball dropping moment, but it wasn't a really that big of a deal. But what I do love about that scene is that it really shows how big of an impact Ruby had on Carla and her mother Cherry. It's like one person can make all the difference. I think we've seen that multiple times already in Doctor Who and other time travel stories. So I feel like that aspect was handled very, very well. And kind of brings me into a point I want to say for the very end of this review. So just put a pin in that for now. I love that the Doctor, once again, saves the day by breaking the sacred first rule of time and just interfering with stuff that already happened. But then again, the goblins already did that anyway, so I guess he's putting the timeline on the right track or something. Either way, so he stops the goblins by doing the one thing the Doctor says they never do, but do it anyway: murder. He drops the ship all the way down to the church, and the Goblin King just gets impaled through the chest. Similar to something that the 12th Doctor already did in his debut episode. But whatever, it serves the point, and I love that when the Goblin King was stabbed, the entire ship just disintegrated and time went back on its right track. So, yeah, there's some element of mystery with these goblins that I'm actually that I think that was handled well. Not so much some of the other stuff I already mentioned. And I love that the Doctor didn't go after the woman who left Ruby Sunday on the church. It just says to me that the Doctor doesn't seem to think it's as important as Ruby does, and more importantly, as the audience does. And I definitely think it's a plot point that's going to get readdressed and brought up several times throughout the upcoming season. I feel like we're gonna get a good idea of who Ruby's mother is by the end of it, and I think we're just gonna know who she is. Just I just don't really want people to put too much hope in that, too much stock in that, on the off chance it's not what people are expecting. Okay, so on the off chance that who Ruby's mother really is disappointing, I just feel like we should manage our expectations. I hope it's great, but again, gotta manage our expectations with this stuff. And speaking of, we're edging very, very close to what I'm aiming for here. But before that, I like the Ruby Sunday's introduction to the TARDIS, the whole bigger on the inside. One thing that's kind of a nitpick is like the Doctor is like, okay, I think I should go now, and he's just staying there, hanging around, waiting for Ruby to show up. Like he knows that she's the one. Like the Doctor said once, 11th Doctor said to Clara once, he never knows why, he only knows who. So like it's like he singled her out. Like he knows that she's the one. Kind of feel like it took a little too long for that to happen, but at least it happened by the end, so can't really be too upset about that. The bigger on the inside moment, in Ruby Sunday's introduction to the TARDIS, I feel like could have been handled a little better. I mean, it was almost shot for shot remake of how Rose was first introduced to the TARDIS, minus the headless Auton chasing them, but well, it's a thing now. I mean, it happened in so many different other companions, so this was her moment. I'm kind of upset we didn't get to see more of the TARDIS, or that the fact that he didn't really fill out the TARDIS as much, like Capaldi did after his debut episode. But that's just that. Now, the final shot in this episode, Mrs. Flood. Who is she? And why does she know so much? I feel like that's the question in everyone's mind is, and you know what? The theories are going so far out in the ether. Some people are saying that she's the Ronnie. Some people are saying that she's Romana. Susan is a name I've heard being thrown around. Even Dodo, which is the weirdest out of left field pick I've heard out of all of them. And the reasoning I think I heard someone say was like well, he dropped her off in the 60s. Okay, that's basically like saying, well, she's alive. Which, she isn't. Jack Gillian passed away a couple of years ago, but that's beside the point. So yeah, I really don't think it's Dodo. I've heard people saying it's River Song. That one actually seems the most likely to me because, Flood, River. But then my friend Soda pointed out to me that it could be a red herring, the name, that she actually has a different name, and it's just to throw people off. Like, how people assumed that the Doctor's last name is Song because he married River Song, and so his last name was Song, before we realized what the real origin of River Song's name. That was a legit fan theory back in the day. I still remember that. But all in all, the answer to who Mrs. Flood is she's a mystery. She's a mystery character, and just like her Ruby's mother, we're gonna know the answer anyway. And you know what? Merge the two together. What if she is Ruby's mother? Now, the main reason I don't think she is a Time Lord character, like the Ronnie, Romana, Susan, and so on and so forth, the main reason I feel like that is, if you look closely in the episode, when the Doctor travels back in time to save Ruby as a baby, Mrs. Flood is walking by, and then she drops her grocery shopping. Almost like she's never seen a TARDIS before, but when the Doctor shows up after fixing the timeline, she has this familiarity with him. So I'm guessing it might be a type of character that the Doctor and Ruby are going to go back in time and interact with in that same area when she's younger. And maybe she will travel with the TARDIS also. And, that whole moment of her dropping the groceries, it could be that she's surprised to see an object disappearing. It could be because she was shocked to see the Doctor's TARDIS after so many years. I think there's a lot to be analyzed from that one moment. It's just, I don't think a Time Lord will react to seeing a TARDIS like that. I mean, that's just personal speculation. That's a fan theory that I said I was gonna go into anyway. So I feel like that's enough food for thought on this character for now. So who do you think Mrs. Flood is? Let me know in the comments below. Couple of final nitpicks I have on this episode, and the reason I saved them to the end is because they're mainly just surface level stuff. I said a while ago, actually no, not a while ago. I said in my last review of the 60th anniversary specials that I feel like they should have changed the opening credits just a little bit, and I don't just mean putting Shooty God was name in it instead of David Tennant and Millie Gibson instead of Catherine Tate. I mean like properly different, because I kind of like the idea of every Doctor having their own unique, specially made for them credits. But that's such a minor thing that's the reason I saved it for the end. Same thing for the TARDIS. I feel like they should have at least added some stuff to it. Now, granted, we don't really see much of the inside of the TARDIS in this episode, but the main one I want to talk about is I am not a fan of the new sonic screwdriver. I'm sorry. And I know it's such a petty thing to be upset about, that it doesn't really mean anything. And I know people are going to laugh at me for having a nitpicking it. I'm sorry, okay? I just appreciate the sonic screwdriver being somewhat of a tool-like device. Something, resembling a screwdriver. And I know the sonic screwdriver has never, ever resembled a screwdriver. Okay? I understand that. And I can see the arguments in the comments already. I know the sonic screwdriver has never looked like a real proper screwdriver, but at least it looked like a tool. Okay? At least it looked like something you could use by pointing it and sonicking. The new sonic screwdriver just, it looks like a remote. I don't like that. And I'm gonna die on that hill if I have to. But you know what? It's the screwdriver the Doctor has now, and that's the one he's gonna stick with. So who the hell am I to argue? Can I just really, it was a screwdriver. Hopefully future Doctors will not adopt this trend of the remote screwdriver and just go back to using a proper tool-like screwdriver. That's just me, and these are my thoughts on the Church on Ruby Road. Will I also review all the other episodes in the upcoming season? Who knows? Only time will tell. Get it? I gotta finish all my reviews for Doctor Who Revisited first before I can even consider doing that. But either way, that's really all I have to say for now. Oh yeah, one other nitpick I wanted to bring up. I'm not a fan that they're continuing this trend of changing the word gravity with mavity. I've said that already in my 60th review. The entire Isaac Newton sequence I was not a fan of, and it looks like they're sticking to it. This is a new timeline now where the word gravity has been replaced with mavity, and I'm not a fan of it. I don't like it. But it's a part of the show now, so I guess I'm going to have to learn to live with it. Either way. Hopefully in a couple of years my opinion on this will change, but for now, I'm sticking to it. Either way, that's really all I have to say for the church on Ruby Road. Let me know what you think of this episode. Let me know how excited you are for this new era of Doctor Who, and what are your opinions on this new Doctor, and more importantly, the new companion which made her debut in this episode. So thank you all for watching if you have, and I will see you all some other time. So till the next one, everybody, Goblin King, you have no power over me. Hi there. Thank you for watching the video. And if you enjoyed it, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and tell your friends. I'll see you next time.